Hey everybody, it's Lynn and Liam, and welcome back to the Ins and Outs. We have uh, what is kind of a current, like pop culture, not pop culture, but like news related episode here this week, meaning that both of ours are revolving around recent events. That's what I meant.
Current events. Also,
Current
none
events.
of our topics are really about sex.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So Thanksgiving is next week, and while you should only be eating Thanksgiving per the CDC's guidelines with your fam that you live with, although I guess they might participate in this language too. Um, this week, my article is not sex related, but it is about body image, and it is the 7 food related phrases that you should not use this month from Self Magazine. And so the idea is that the language that we use is shameful or could be can be body negative if we use these types of phrases, and it could lead to like stigma and low self-esteem and eating disorders. And so we want to eliminate these phrases from your vocab. Liam,
Yeah,
do
so
you
kind of just
use
like
any of these phrases?
what?
Do you use any of these phrases on yourself?
Um, I feel like I've definitely used some of these phrases. And I've also been told some of these phrases, right? Like there's one that's like, "You're so skinny, you can eat whatever you want," and like, hey, I used to like say that about myself. Like when people would be like, "Oh, you're eating a lot, Liam," I'd be like, "I can eat whatever I want." But other people also said it to me too.
Right. Nobody's ever said that to me because I have been thick since birth. Um, but that's thick with 2 C's, not with a K. Um, and but the point is like you don't know what sort of like body image issues somebody has. And so Liam, I just sanitized. That's why I didn't want to touch my face. Liam, you might have some sort of eating disorder that people don't know about. And so when they say like, "Oh, Liam, you're so skinny, you can eat whatever you want," it might actually trigger you to have like internal issues that could lead to more disordered eating. Do you like how much I'm touching my face, even though I'm trying not to?
As soon as you start thinking about it, it's always like the time you do it.
Yeah. When you go to Lush, this is a side note. When you go to Lush, they're like, you can't touch your glasses, your hair, your mask, nothing, or else we'll have to throw away product. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my eyes are itching so bad. I've got to fix my hair and my glasses need to be adjusted. And it becomes like a mental mess. But anyway,
Don't know what Lush is.
it's like it's the best bath and body store in the world.
I'm a guy. I use like the same thing for my entire body.
Oh, well, you need a bath bomb. You need a nice face mask. You need a lip balm. It's the best.
Oh, okay.
I get my conditioner there. I get my shampoo bar there. Get all my body spray. Um, but so the point is that you really don't want to do these because you don't know what people are dealing with. And like, so if somebody says like, "Oh, Lynn, you're going to have seconds," and I already feel like trash about myself. Like, how is that? What sort of deep spiral?
Yeah.
Um,
And it
and
doesn't have to be
so
like anything as serious as like an eating disorder or like bulimia or anorexia or something like that. But it's also just like just any sort of shame that we associate with food is like really unnecessary, right? Because like it's food, you need it to survive.
plus Thanksgiving is like the day. Well, anytime you want to eat food. I had a croissant and a peanut butter cookie for lunch today. And like I feel no personal shame about that. But like if somebody saw me eating that, they would probably be like, "Does she eat like real meals without sugar and butter?" But I really wanted a croissant and a peanut butter cookie.
And I'm sure it was delicious. I had pizza and wings for lunch and they were freaking dope.
Oh, I would love pizza and wings. Um, and so yeah, you're right. It's not just about like triggering bulimia or anorexia. It's like um, mind your own beeswax, as my mom says. And also, if you look at the studies, like the 8-year-olds and the 9-year-olds that are experiencing body shame are like significantly scary. Like there's so much like 7-year-olds out there who have negative self-esteem because they're listening to us say this about themselves.
Yeah, like that was something that shocked me. I was like, I can't even think about thinking about myself when I was like 7.
Right. And to think like, oh, this second grader doesn't want to eat an extra cookie, even though they want one because they think that they are fat.
Yeah.
Also, fat's just like a descriptor. It's like tall, skinny, fat. Like people will say like, oh, Lynn, like you're a little fat. And I'm like, or I'll say, or they won't say that to me. I'll say like, yeah, I'm a little fat. And they're like, oh, don't say that. And I'm like, no, I'm also a little short. I also like, those are descriptors, right? Like you're tall, skinny, you got that nice beard. I am fat. Does that
You
make
also
you
have those nice
uncomfortable?
bangs.
I have these really nice bangs. Yeah. I also have some nice little wrinkles that are showing up, but I'm not gonna think about that.
I don't we all.
So one of them is like, don't judge me, I'm having seconds. And so I think this is probably one of the more common ones. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you feel shame going to get seconds.
Or the other one like that I actually say to myself a lot is like, oh, don't worry, we'll work this off in the gym tomorrow.
Right. The truth is it's really hard to work off calories.
Oh my God.
And you shouldn't have to. But I think people underestimate how much, like, I'll run for 30 minutes and it'll burn 200 calories. So it's like, if I actually were going to do that, it would take me too much time. And it's not even something you can do.
Yeah, like something I saw was like, if you eat like a Big Mac, in order to burn it all off, you'd have to run to like Rochester and back. But at the same time, like we don't need to burn off all the calories we eat, right? Because then we die. We need calories because they're energy.
Right. And if you take an extra one day or multiple days or whenever, it's probably fine.
Yeah. Just live your life. Being stressed about it is going to do more harm than eating.
Right. But I think a lot of it is literally motivated not by your internal self, but like your perception of what other people are thinking about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, do you ever go to a buffet and nobody gets up first? Like they announce like the food's available and nobody gets up first?
No, because I'm usually the first one to get up.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm like, oh, I'll go first, sure. But there's always like this weird hesitation because I think people don't want to be like the first one to get food, but it's like, first off, you want to beat the line. And also the food's hottest. And also that way you can get seconds quicker.
Yeah. I mean, I have always been the biggest eater, let's say, in my family. Like, not biggest, like, physically, but, like, I'm the one who's always like, oh, food's on, let's go get it. Or, like, if we go on vacation, like, Jay too, me and him, we just love eating. And so we'll get, like, just, like, 10 different things at a restaurant and eat, like, as much of it as we can. But we don't care, like, we just want to try it. It's a great experience just to, like, eat food and be happy.
Yeah, no, me and Pat are the same way. It's actually one of the biggest struggles of COVID because one of our few things that we have in common is eating meals together, and we like to go out to eat. And so like that was what we did every week as like our connecting activity. And now it's like, I don't know, maybe I'll order a pizza. Like there's not a lot of like that was our connecting activity.
Yeah.
I also just have like deep ingrained poverty eating habits, which makes me eat quickly because when you're poor, and like I was really poor, you have to eat quickly because if there are leftovers, you have to get them before everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so like I hoard food. I'm just like, this is it. I've got to eat it all. There won't be more. And I can't get it out of my head, which is how I maintain a very fleshy body.
I don't even think you're fleshy or whatever. But also, it doesn't matter if you are or not. It's your body. You're a beautiful snowflake.
That's true.
Just like everybody else is. One thing I did like, so they talked about like how we associate a lot of negative words to our eating habits. Like, oh, I've been so bad this month, or oh, it's like, what, sinfully something?
Yeah, this is sinful.
It's so sinful. So that one though, I do have some questions about that one. I understand why you shouldn't say this dessert is so sinful because sin is like a negative term associated with it. But I often say things like, oh, it's sinfully delicious. And I'm like, oh, should I not say that anymore? Because like I always thought of it not as like sinning in a bad way. I always thought of it as like the 7 deadly sins, and like gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins. And now I don't think gluttony is bad, but I say it because it's like one of those like sins that like that's.
It sounds like you say it it sounds like you're saying it in like a pleasurable way, like, oh, this is sinfully delicious.
Yeah, because pleasure is often associated with sin, right? And so I think about it in like a kind of like funny like sin way, not like a ooh, we're going to hell kind of sin way.
I would never say sinful because I don't I wasn't born religious, so I don't actually have any understanding of what a sin is. So sinful is not a word in my vocab. But I do think like I all the time say like, oh, I ate so bad this week. And it's just like a statement of how I've eaten, and I could see how that could be perceived as bad.
Well, so I also say like a lot, if I say like, oh, I ate so bad this week, I'm usually saying it because I feel like internally, like my stomach feels bad from what I've eaten all week. So like if I like don't eat vegetables for 3 days, I'm actually like sick, and I'm like, oh man, like I've eaten so bad, I feel bad. Like I feel physically sick because of it. It's not like I ate bad because the food I ate like was bad per se. It's just like the food didn't make me feel maybe healthy or like good.
Yeah, no, sometimes I'll eat like Chinese food, right? And it will be very delicious, and then I will feel physically I ate bad and I physically feel bad. I need a nap.
Yeah.
But yeah. I just think that any sort of food shame is just bizarre, because I think your main point is right. Like Thanksgiving is supposed to be about enjoying time, like home cooked meals. Like when we go home for Christmas, which I don't think we'll do this year, I will eat 25 chocolate pretzels. They are delicious. My father-in-law makes them. They're my favorite Christmas snack. I don't feel bad about it, and it's probably like days worth of like the recommended value of that they say, but they're so good, and it's once a year, and so why wouldn't like do whatever the frick you want to do?
Yeah, like just live your life, be happy.
Yeah,
Screw the haters,
and be aware of your language, because you could be impacting. I'm mostly worried about the little people around the table, you know.
And I mean, even like so I sometimes say, and especially I used to say, I try not to do that as much anymore, but like I've been like just super skinny my entire life. Like I've been naturally skinny, never had to think about it much for my entire life. Even now, compared to like most people when they talk to me, like think I'm skinny. But because I've been skinny my entire life, but I've also gained weight throughout my life, especially like in my like post 25-year-old years. I complain sometimes and go, oh man, I'm getting so fat. And people tell me like that's really triggering because they don't see me as fat. And so I understand both sides though. I'm like, yeah, like I understand like that can definitely be triggering for you, and I should watch my language, and nobody should really talk about, oh, I'm fat or whatever, in like a negative way. But at the same time, I do sometimes have negative feelings associated with it because my body did change from what it was. And so I also don't think I should like be like, I don't think my feelings should be invalidated just because other people don't see me as the way I see it.
Yeah, I think so I think about that a lot because I do identify as fat, but I also have the body type that is socially acceptable to be fat, right? Like I have very large hips, I have a small waist. So like it is I say frequently I'm lucky that my body type is in style, because it gives you and I have a level of privilege, right? Where if like, and so I can say like I ate 20 cookies and whatever, but if I were 400 pounds and I wasn't like an acceptable type of fat, then people could then be like, oh, she's whatever. And so like, I think you're right, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that we have like a level of privilege when it comes to that, because like nobody is going to say anything to us about our bodies.
Definitely.
You know.
Yeah.
I do really like, frequently people will say, like, because you and I work in the public health field, and they'll be like, you know, there are people out there who eat McDonald's multiple times a week. And it's like, yeah, I'm one of them. Like, because public health people like to add like value and shame onto like stuff like that. And I'm like, listen, the ladies at the drive-thru know me. Like, so they don't perceive it because I'm not like fat. And so they don't think I do. But like, I love fast food. A McMuffin every day is fine with me. I love a sausage McMuffin.
And I think it's also like when you shame someone for eating McDonald's a lot, there's also like just a lot of like cultural things that go along with like why someone might eat McDonald's a lot, right? Like you eat McDonald's a lot, like you said, because you did it when you were a kid, right? Your dad took you to
I have
McDonald's all the
very
time.
positive memories of
Yeah.
McDonald's. Have I
And
told
there's
you that
also,
my dad's ashes are spread out at a McDonald's?
yeah, I think you've said that before. But it's also like, it's not just that like your dad loved McDonald's either, right? It's also probably like social economically why that was the one restaurant he could take you to all the time.
Right. It was $1 for my breakfast. Yeah. Yeah. I do love McDonald's.
I mean, I love McDonald's, but I think I love it for an opposite way for why you love it. When I was a kid, McDonald's was like that special thing I got when me and my mom took road trips together. So when we went to like, visit my aunt in Toronto or my aunt in New York, that was the only time of year I would get McDonald's. And so it was like this special kind of occasion thing for me as a kid.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. So now still, it's like if I eat McDonald's, I'm like, I'm going to treat myself to McDonald's or I'm going to treat myself to Checkers.
That's how I feel about KFC. KFC is a treat for me.
Oh, I can't eat KFC. That's not going to start.
KFC is what we ate when we had some cash. We were like, we're going to walk 2 miles to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Nice.
I think that's all I have in my article, right? What do you have? Anything to add?
No, that was it.
I like yours.
Yeah, I like mine too. I'm struggling trying to think about like what to come up with for this, and then we have been talking. Jay in Tennessee, he voted for this new congressperson in Tennessee, who is the first openly gay Black congressperson in Tennessee. And so I was thinking about talking about that person, but then I was like, you know what? So many queer people won this year. Let's just talk about all the queer people that won this year. And it was groundbreaking how, like, not just like, oh, like a few more won this year. Like almost every single state now has like their first queer person in Congress, at least local state congresses. The federal Congress will have more queer people than ever before. A trans person, I think, is going to the National Congress.
I don't know. I know there's a trans person in this article.
There's a few trans people in this article. And so that was actually another thing I really liked about this article. So 570 queer folk, that's like gay, lesbian, bi, trans, pan, all of that, were on the ballot this year. And 160 of them have secured victories as the time of that article being written. And what I loved about this was not just that queer people are winning all over the place, but that it isn't just like white male gay men. It is such a diverse cast of queerty. There's Black queer folk in there, there's lesbians, there's bisexual folk, there's trans people. Like it is just so expansive of the amount of representation queer people are having now.
It's also so you said it was a lot of places, but it's like places you would not necessarily, we expected in like San Francisco or New York City, but it's like Kansas and Oklahoma, and it's like all different levels. So like, I think the mayor of Palm Springs is now LGBT, and it's like state houses, Congress, it's like all the levels.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the future mayor of, what is it? Tennessee, or not Tennessee?
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. So a few things happen with that. One, in Palm Springs, you aren't elected mayor. Their mayors are rotational based on the common council. So each person on the common council gets to be mayor for a year or so, or 2 years.
That's funny because I spent my summers in Palm Springs and I had no idea.
Really?
In college, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've never been to Palm Springs.
Palm Springs has a huge LGBTQ population.
I mean, Florida in general. I feel like Florida is like the weirdest
Palm
state.
Springs is in California.
Is it? Palm Springs is in Florida.
I mean, there's probably 2 Palm Springs. We should probably find out which Palm Springs this person's from.
I'm pretty sure they're from the Florida one.
I'm gonna Google it real quick.
But anyways, I will talk to you while you're Googling it, because what I'm going to talk about doesn't have to do much to do with the state. But so the woman who is going to be the first queer mayor of Palm Springs, whichever Palm Springs it is, they actually were gatekeeped by other queer folk, because they were like, oh, you're bi, so you're not really queer, or you're just pretending to be bi because you're married to a man, so you're not really bi. So then she got like bi shamed. And I was like, I hate when like some queer folk try to gatekeep other queer folk. So reading that article like drove me crazy about that.
It is California, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah, but there is a Palm Springs in Florida, I'm sure.
That's what I always think of.
But Palm Springs in California is like, they have a huge gay population.
Oh, really? Is their first, that's really, it's like the first gay mayor then.
That's why I was actually shocked. I'm like, I assumed Sonny Bono actually used to be the mayor of Palm Springs. There's a statue of him.
Crashed into a tree.
Yeah, R.I.P. There's also like different body types. I think a lot of times when we think of elected officials, that like if you have too many intersections, like you like, oh, you're black, gay and fat. It like just like people's isms just like come out, right? And they're like, oh, I can't vote for, and they have all these like isms that make them not vote for this person. And so I'm glad that like it seems like a lot of that is starting to become overcome. Although I am really interested in how they interact with some of the peers when they're actually in the office. Like when we think about like AOC is not LGBT, but she's an example I can think of. Like AOC, she like was so radical and she's like really progressive. And then she got to Congress and like some people just treated her like straight up trash, and they still treat her like trash. And so it's good that there's like a lot of numbers, because at least it like creates like a sense of like the strength in numbers.
Yeah. And it's great because like it's not a lot of these states that elected queer folk, like Tennessee, they don't have like laws for protection for queer folk, like at all. So they can be like discriminated for housing. And Tennessee actually just passed this adoption, not ban, but religious organizations can now discriminate against you based on your sexuality for adoption. So if you are gay, they don't have to adopt you because they're against gay folk. And now New York State has banned this practice by saying that they won't give state funds to providers who do that. And so that forced most providers to not do that. Tennessee said they will still give state funds to providers that do that.
You're right. So it just makes a more diverse legislative body, which will make more LGBTQ friendly.
Yeah. And one thing about the Tennessee guy, so I read a lot about him because Jay voted for him down in Memphis. And so when Jay voted for him, Jay didn't even know he was actually queer when he voted for him. There were 2 Democrats running for the seat, and the one Democrat is against abortion. And Jay does not play with that. So he was like, I'm going to vote for this dude because he's for abortion. And then it just turned out that he also happens to be the first Black queer person going to Tennessee legislature, but not the first queer person, because another queer man was elected the same day to go to the Tennessee Congress. And they're Republican, which is another thing. It's not just Democrats electing gay folk or queer folk. It's Republicans and Democrats, like more Democrats, but there are Republicans who are gay now too, which is awesome.
Right. And it's not necessarily all progressive. I mean, obviously progressivism is a good thing, or can be a good thing. But like, if you think about like Mayor Pete, right? He's a gay man. He's pretty moderate. And so it's like different It's just really well-rounded. It's a very interesting group of people.
It is. And they always talk about how like important it is to have these like diverse gay experiences, because like as a gay kid growing up, I wasn't exposed to a lot of diverse gay experiences. So letting kids nowadays like see how diverse the community is and that they don't have to just be one thing is amazing.
Yeah, I remember you tell the story about how what was that show you used to watch? Not the L Word.
Queer as Folk?
Queer as Folk, yeah. And like that was like your identification as like what gayness meant.
Yeah, and that show was super white. And not healthy like representations of gay people.
Yeah. Do you know who the first openly gay male in the New York State Assembly was?
Was it that guy who was also in the Senate eventually?
It's Rosie O'Donnell's brother.
Really? Rosie O'Donnell's brother's gay?
Danny O'Donnell, yeah.
He's in the Senate?
He's still in the Assembly, actually.
In the Assembly? Really?
Yeah. Isn't that kind of cool? It's like a fun fact.
I guess.
I don't know. Meeting Rosie O'Donnell's brother, that's like exciting. Like, oh, I've met Rosie O'Donnell's brother. Like he would be eating Thanksgiving with her if it were approved by the CDC.
What do you know?
I don't know. I don't know what the relationship is like. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Danny O'Donnell. Let me just confirm that. I don't want to be wrong. I also am happy that there's so many New Yorkers on that list.
Yeah, a lot of New Yorkers. One of them was a sex educator before they came to be in the Congress, which I thought was really dope.
Is that true?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find out who it was.
I was right, by the way. Thank goodness. I would have been embarrassed if I were wrong. And then the other thing we should probably talk about is that we talk about like all these first, but the truth is that there's probably been, so like sometimes people will say, oh, they are the first gay, whatever, or the first, and it's like, no, they're the first openly gay, because there have got to have been other like LGBT people in these positions before, but because of a completely intolerant society, they couldn't come out.
Yeah. I mean, some people even argue
that there's been a gay president.
Yeah, was it Van Buren maybe was a guy?
I don't know. There's all these like, people say that Alexander Hamilton, who was not a president, but he's a founding father, had like romantic relations with John Lawrence, who is in the musical Hamilton. So like, yeah, they existed, but it wasn't okay by our society standards. Who are you looking up again?
Her name is Tierra Mack, and she is from Rhode Island, and she was a sex educator in Rhode Island before she became a state representative.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, we can become politicians too. Not that I would ever want to.
I ran for school board once. I came very close.
I know.
They might have changed the trajectory of my life if I won.
Had you won?
Probably not, but who knows?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, life works out the way it works out. That's all you can do.
Yeah, there's no women on the Niagara Falls School Board.
Oh, really?
There are no women in Niagara Falls government.
Like elected government?
No city council, no county legislature, no mayor, no, yep.
So yeah, elected government. I'm sure there's like women in like government.
There's women who work in the office, yeah. But there's none who are elected the office.
Weird. Niagara Falls, man. We're a men's club.
It's an interesting place to live.
Isn't it also like mostly white men too?
I think it might be all white men.
Wow. For a city of Niagara Falls, which is definitely not all white men.
Who am I forgetting here?
I feel like there's somebody on the school board who's African American.
Oh, the school board is actually more diverse. But the school board is its own like little separate thing that's like, it's kind of like how the Buffalo School Board is like its own separate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the city council are white men. The mayor is a white man. 3 out of 4 of the county legislators are white men. The sheriff is white. The judges are white.
And not that many, I don't know the racial breakdown, but I'm pretty sure there's more Black people than white people in Niagara Falls.
It's pretty close.
Is it?
Yeah.
But
So
certainly
it's clearly not diverse. Yes. Not diverse.
Yeah. But
it's a weird place to live. We need to change that. We need to, maybe this is something for the future.
We need to elect more Black folk, women, and queer folk to Niagara Falls legislatures.
Or all legislatures.
Or all legislatures.
Yeah. Okay, Liam, I don't have anything else to add to this article.
Me neither. I think that was it. I just want to, shout out all. Oh, there was one thing I did want to ask. Can we not use it? What?
Is it about Richie Torres?
No. But I was gonna say, can we not use the term lavender ceiling? Because I hate that term. And I was reading it and I was like, I read 3 articles that were like, the lavender ceiling's been shattered. And I was like, shut like
it seems like a stereotype.
Yeah.
Do you like lavender?
I mean, I don't dislike lavender, but
I love lavender.
I don't think like lavender needs to be associated with like queer folk. Like lavender is supposed to be calming, and queer folk are not calming.
Well, and it's like soft. It's like it seems like a stereotype, like a feminateness.
Yeah, feminine like queer men.
Yeah, I don't like that. I agree. Plus, I really like lavender. I don't want to make it a thing to like stigma or like, oh, why don't you go be lavender, Liam?
Yeah.
I
mean, like, I also like lavender too. Jay got some fresh lavender from a friend and he made some lavender olive oil and some lavender salt and it's delicious.
Jay is always up to something.
Yes, he dehydrated celery yesterday. It was really weird.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Me neither. I was like, isn't it all water?
Yeah, well, I guess does it turn into like celery salt? Can you make it celery salt?
You can mix it with salt. It's like hard chunks of celery. It's weird. But anyways, yeah, outside of lavender ceiling, which is a term we should stop using forever and throw it into the dustbin of history. That's 100%.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Cool. Good place to
Okay, Liam, I'll see you. I won't see you next week because next week is Thanksgiving.
Yeah, next week's Thanksgiving. And then we'll probably be back the week after. We'll see how we feel.
I'm back the week after. I'll just say you're talking to myself if you're not here.
Yeah, just interviewing yourself.
Okay, bye, Liam.
Bye.